Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
Welcome to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott. In this episode, the death of a former defense secretary and new guidance from the Pentagon on abortions. Plus, how an Air Force veteran went from supporting special operations to posing as a pinup model. Also, think carrots improve your eyesight? Think again. Our history expert debunks this long-held belief. And see why Japan just bought an American drone and what the Pacific country will use it for. And finally, what kind of tech is being developed to repair ships? Todd South explores just that in MilTech. We've got those stories and more, with the latest in news and analysis from the Pentagon to the platoon, here on Defense News Weekly. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott. Ash Carter, who served as the Secretary of Defense in the final 2 years of the Obama administration, died of a heart attack Monday evening. In December 2015, after 3 years of study and debate, Carter ordered the military to open all combat jobs to women, including the most dangerous and grueling commando posts. The following year, Carter, a Philadelphia native, ended the ban on transgender troops serving in the military, saying it was the right thing to do. Carter was 68 years old. The Pentagon has released guidance on how it will handle abortion access across the military, prompting sharp reactions from lawmakers. Recently, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin sent out a memo saying the Defense Department plans to provide leave and travel reimbursement to troops who need to travel out of state to receive the procedure. Federal rules prevent the DoD from paying for abortion procedures, except in select cases. Republican lawmakers dubbed the move a political one and said it undermined the military's core missions, while Democrats said it protected women service members' rights. Actor Mark Hamill fought for a fictional rebel alliance in the Star Wars universe for years, and now he's getting involved in a real-world battle. Hamill revealed recently that he helped send 500 drones to Ukraine for aid in its war effort, a little under a month after being named a drone ambassador for an international support organization. Hamill aligned with United 24, which aims to garner support for Ukraine's fight against Russia, and its Army of Drones project, which seeks drone donations. United 24, launched by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, has raised over $200 million in donations since its inception. The top U.S. commander for the Middle East got a demonstration aboard a U.S. ballistic missile submarine in the Arabian Sea last week. That's in a rare move that highlighted U.S. nuclear undersea capabilities during tense times with Iran and Russia. General Eric Kurilla was shuttled out to the submarine West Virginia and went aboard for about 8 hours as it rose to the surface in an undisclosed location in international waters. The West Virginia is one of the Navy's Ohio-class long-range submarines known as boomers. They are stealthy and, as one leg of America's nuclear triad, can launch nuclear missile strikes and are considered a key strategic deterrent. Kurilla said the West Virginia demonstrates flexibility, survivability, and readiness. And want to hear submarines scream like little kids? Jumping into the icy waters of the Baltic Sea off the coast of Finland, Marines from several units recently took a brisk swim to do a little survival training. Hopping off a Finnish littoral craft, the Marines linked up to keep each other afloat. But getting in was a bit of an experience.
Get into the water.
for a sense of what the water temperature might have been like. The Marines are in Finland in support of something called Joint Exercise Freezing Winds. Task Force Nighthawk is playing with fire. As part of riot control training, soldiers of the 151st Infantry Battalion are participating in fire phobia training to learn how to take the heat. Trainers in Wunfels, Germany toss Molotov cocktails at the peacekeepers' feet to build confidence. Riot control training is an essential part of peacekeeping missions and may come in handy when the unit deploys to Kosovo with NATO's Kosovo Force, which has been in the country since 1999. And now for a story on a model airman. As an Air Force analyst, Alexandra Minero Martino supported combat search and rescue operations and even deployed in 2005 to rescue those affected by Hurricane Katrina. Today, the veteran is a pinup model. I caught up with her earlier to learn more. Thanks for joining us today, Allie.
Thank you for having me.
You are Pinups for Vets Miss January. What does pinup culture mean to you?
The way I look at it and why it has a special place in my heart is that deployed soldiers during World War II, the pinup culture and the pinup look was a big morale booster for them to have that look, especially when they were in such austere situations. One of the reasons I loved joining the Air Force so much was that I always really liked the nose art that they had on the different planes. And so looking back on that, that is a big part of Air Force history and culture, and also aviation in general. They had the pinup girls, and they were kind of like their guardian angels, for lack of a better term, that whenever they flew into an environment that they knew very well that they may not be coming back from, they kind of had that sense of morale with them. So that's why it's always been like big to me.
Can you tell us about the organization, what they do, and how you got connected to them?
Oh, absolutely. So Pinups for Vets is a wonderful nonprofit organization that makes calendars within a pinup style, and every single model is a female veteran from across all the U.S. branches of service. And the proceeds from those calendars, the merchandise through Pinups for Vets, all of those proceeds go towards veteran organizations. So they do a lot of outreach with homeless veteran organizations. They do a lot of morale visits with veterans that are in hospice or veterans that are in VA hospitals. And they also donate money to VA hospitals so they can buy critical equipment to treat veterans in their various ailments while they're in the hospital.
You were in the Air Force for 17 years. What did you do in the Air Force?
So I was an analyst, primarily supporting combat search and rescue and personnel recovery missions while I was active duty. And after 9 years of active duty service, I went into the Air Force Reserves, where I continued to be an analyst until I separated in 2020.
So a lot of times some people might stereotype females in the military, right, as maybe not being girly or pinup-like per se. How do you balance that maybe that stereotype and being this pinup that you are today?
I've always really loved the look, and to break that stereotype, less than 1% of the US population enlists or becomes a military member, and an even smaller sliver of that are women. So there is a lot of misconceptions and there is a lot of stereotypes about the type of woman who would enlist in the military or become an officer. But I can assure you from across the board, there are so many different women and of different creed, races, ethnicity, who all come together to serve their country. And there are women who are as feminine or even more feminine than me, but they are all just wonderful Americans and tough as nails.
What sort of reaction are you getting, maybe specifically from other veterans, of you being in this calendar?
Oh, overwhelmingly supportive. What my ultimate goal is to kind of provide outreach and support to female veterans from across the board. Things like medical care, especially obstetrics and OBGYN care within VA hospitals, because we are such a small contingent of the US military writ large. And to kind of share our own stories. And a lot of times there is this stereotype that it's an incredibly downtrodden type of environment, but the majority of female veterans that I've met, it's like, we are so proud of our service and we love talking about it. I had an absolutely wonderful time serving my country. It's the greatest thing I've ever done with my life.
Well, we look forward to getting our own calendar, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
When we return, it's the latest industry news, and we bust a myth about carrots that you've believed your entire life. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott, and this is Defense Dollars. It's official. The U.S. Air Force will unveil its next stealth bomber, the B-21 Raider, on December 2nd. The rollout will take place at Northrop Grumman's facility in Palmdale, California. The company said in September that 6 test bombers were in various states of final assembly there. The bomber is named after the Doolittle Raiders. The 80 airmen are credited with shifting the course of World War II after flying B-25B Mitchell bombers and attacking Tokyo. The Japanese Coast Guard has started operations with a newly delivered MQ-9B Sea Guardian drone, while more airborne early warning aircraft have arrived in the country by ship. The UAV's manufacturer, General Atomics Aeronautical Systems, said in a news release that the Coast Guard commenced flight operations with a Sea Guardian from northern Japan on October 19th. The manufacturer says the plane will be used for search and rescue, disaster response, and maritime law enforcement. Palantir Technologies won a U.S. Army contract worth as much as $59 million to support the testing and rollout of software that allows analysts to parse vast amounts of data and quickly provide leaders the latest battlefield information with the AllSource 2 app. The 5-year indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity deal was announced on October 17th by the Army's Program Executive Office for Intelligence, Electronic Warfare, and Sensors. Colonel Christopher Anderson, the project manager for Intelligence Systems and Analytics, said in a statement that the AS2 app will provide a robust set of tools to improve planning for missions. He added that it will work with existing command post computing environments, and it will reduce the amount of hardware the Army intelligence community is required to maintain. Italy, Poland, and the United States are flying over NATO's eastern flank as they take part in the alliance's air shielding mission. In the air are Italian Eurofighters, Polish F-16s, and Polish MiG-29s, as well as US F-22s. NATO says that in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the shielding mission has increased air and missile defense operations on the eastern flank. Allies are providing fighters and ground-based air and missile defense systems to protect from possible threats. The air shielding deployments range from a few weeks to several months at several air bases. In addition to the air shielding mission, NATO also hosted Neptune Strike last week on the Mediterranean Sea. The exercise involved more than 10 NATO countries, including the United States, Italy, Romania, Lithuania, Hungary, and Poland. It is aimed at making sure partner countries' navies can communicate and work together while at sea and in the air. It is also aimed at deterring threats as Russia wages a war on Ukraine and Eastern Europe. And that wraps up our industry headlines. Now, let's go to the past. Eat your carrots so you can see better. That's what we've heard our entire lives. But is it true? Not exactly. Our history expert Claire Barrett explains how the myth came to be.
So full disclaimer, up until several weeks ago, I legitimately thought that the old adage that carrots improved your eyesight was actually true. And while it may or may not have fooled the Germans during World War II, the lore has endured for nearly 8 decades, and it certainly fooled me. But let's back up. During the fall of 1940, as the Battle of Britain waned, the Luftwaffe ushered in a new phase of the war, the Blitz. The Germans often struck at night, causing the whole of UK, particularly cities like London, to order citywide blackouts. Due to the RAF's Downing radar system, British pilots were able to often intercept the Luftwaffe seemingly out of nowhere. To protect this technological secret, the UK government hatched a plot so ludicrous, so ingenious, that it had the potential to actually work. They suggested carrots. According to the World Carrot Museum, and yes, that exists, the UK government Ministry of Food responded to a temporary wartime oversupply of carrots by suggesting in newspaper outlets that the RAF's exceptional night flying and target success was due to eating carrots with a high carotene content. The messaging was clearly intended for civilians to consume a surplus of homegrown vegetables, but whether the Germans bought it or not isn't entirely clear. What is clear, however, is that the Brits believed that eating carrots would allow them to see better during blackouts, and the consumption of carrots skyrocketed by the end of 1940 into 1941. The ministry's war cookery leaflet went even further, filling pages with recipes for carrot pudding, carrot cake, carrot marmalade, and carrot flan. Concoctions like carolade made rutabagas and carrots emerged from other similar sources. None of it was entirely edible naturally. Advertisements with the slogan, "Carrots keep you healthy and help you see in the blackout," cropped up on street corners throughout the country. According to the Smithsonian, animated characters like Dr. Carrot were everywhere. Radio shows, posters, even Disney helped out. Hank Porter, a leading Disney cartoonist, designed a whole family based on the idea of Dr. Carrot, Carroty George, Pop Carrot, and Clara Carrot, for the British to promote to the public. From there, the lore took root and hasn't really budged in decades. And while incorporating carrots into your diet cannot improve your eyesight, they can improve your eye health. So get chomping.
Thanks, Claire. Next up, our personal finance expert shows us how to tell if our investments are working for us. Welcome back. On this edition of Money Minute, Navy Federal Credit Union personal finance expert Jeanette Mack gives her latest tips on calculating the annual percentage yields of your investments.
When it comes to your hard-earned money, especially right now, everyone wants to make the most of it and save as much as possible. As interest rates rise, it's important to look at the potential APY on your savings before you open an account. Understanding APY and how it's calculated can help you choose an account that maximizes your money. APY stands for Annual Percentage Yield, a standard formula banks and credit unions use to tell you how much interest you can expect to earn by measuring the compounded interest earned yearly. The APY on savings accounts will vary by financial institution, so you should be comparing the APY on different accounts to get the most for your money. Usually, the more easily you can access the funds in your account, the lower the interest rate and APY. That's why certificates of deposit, or CDs, have higher interest rates. The money must be in the account for the duration of the term, from 1 to as high as 10 years or more. Just ask your bank or credit union to help guide you to the right account for you. And remember, inflation may be going up, but so are interest rates. The time is right for saving, so make sure your money is working harder for you every day.
Thanks, Jeanette. We'll see you next time. To get more coverage of military and defense issues, set your compass to Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps Times.com and DefenseNews.com for more stories. And if you want to impress people with knowledge of more than just TikTok trends, sign up for our Early Bird Brief for military and defense headlines in your inbox each weekday. And get the latest on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And when we come back, we see the technology the Navy is looking at to repair ships. Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. As any sailor can tell you, ship maintenance is key. It's also becoming more high-tech. Todd South shows you how in this week's MilTech.
Ships take a beating. These floating Navy fortresses that project American military power across the globe are powerful, but the grind of salty sea air, water, and sailors just living aboard and doing their jobs mean a lot of work to keep them floating. And to get after those repairs and maintenance on the high-tech ships of today, the Navy holds a regular Repair X or repair exercise. In the most recent exercise, more than 60 vendors, researchers, and government agency representatives came out to Naval Base Ventura County to showcase their solutions for keeping the Navy's fleet shipshape. The Sea Service needs visualization, command and control aids, forward manufacturing, and expeditionary maintenance. Visualization is just like it sounds. It's the ability of the ship's crew and leaders to see all sides of their watercraft. Big ships have big blind spots, and I don't just mean for changing lanes or parallel parking. Man, I'd like to see someone parallel park an aircraft carrier, and without a backup camera. But seriously, added cameras really do help a ship's captain and watch standards, and the Navy's using that kind of tech today. Sailors hauled out the Naval Surface Warfare Center's self-defense test ship. It's a 563-foot-long, decommissioned Spruance-class destroyer that Swableys used to evaluate naval tech and naval weapons. What's a Spruance-class destroyer? Don't sweat it. I'm a Marine vet and I didn't know. The Spruance-class was a destroyer ship built in the 70s and 80s to replace World War II-era ships. The Navy named it for Admiral Raymond Spruance, a decorated leader who commanded in combat during the Battle of Midway and other major World War II Pacific theater fights. The last of the Spruances was decommissioned in 2005, but while they ran, they saw the first use of a helicopter flight deck on a destroyer, and they held enclosed hangars to support those helicopters. Visualization tech demonstrated the exercise allowed sailors to see above, around, and below the waterline to spot hazards and areas that needed repair. One of those tech pieces included ultrasonic mode imaging that could examine nearly microscopic cracks that a human eye might miss. In more of the scary sci-fi but I can see why you need it area, it was the hardened underwater modular robot Snake. It's being developed by Carnegie Mellon University's Biorobotics Lab. The Snake is a series of modules that can worm its way into many nooks and crannies of a ship that are underwater. It allows the ship's maintainers to get up and close and look at any problems even while underway. The forward manufacturing and expeditionary maintenance part basically means 3D printing and ways to shrink the logistical footprint of all things needed that sailors might want to fix while at sea or away from home port. One new tool that sailors might use instead of the old-fashioned paint chipper is a plasma blast. A cold plasma beam made by Atmospheric Plasma Solutions, it vaporizes paint, sealants, and epoxies without damaging the underlying surface of the ship. On the command and control side is the TAC-X system. It's an ATAC communications device built off the Android platform. And this isn't your grade school playtime walkie-talkie. The system, made by IoT AI, can run secure shipboard communications, do asset tracking, and can develop smart junk that can disguise itself as sea junk but run electronic warfare attacks, and also a smart cam that is artificial intelligence enabled with an aerial drone that can run perimeter security around a ship. So, while the Navy's fleet may face the trials of the sea and the rust busting that goes along with it, some of these new tools might just make the job cleaner and safer for sailors. We'll keep watch over all things ship maintenance and more. This is Todd South with Military Times.
Thanks, Todd. And that's all we have time for this week. Please visit us on militarytimes.com and defensenews.com for more coverage. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.